Happy March! I hope we've all been having a great start to 2026. I have been a little busy the last few months playing the final few Resident Evil games that we needed to tick off the list before Resident Evil 9 came out. So it's time to go over all the games I played in February and also technically January, because I didn't do one of these last month because it took us an entire month to finish one whole game, so I'm lumping them all in together for this video. The big boy that took us the entirety of January to finish was Resident Evil 6. Now this one, I really tried to go in with an open mind, but let me tell you, it fucking sucks. Resident Evil 6 gets a 4 out of 10 from me, and let me tell you why. The characters and the story are actually really good. That is probably this game's strongest point, and honestly, the gameplay as a whole, if we break it down, sure, it's not a horror game. I didn't expect it to be. It's actually pretty fun, especially Leon's campaign. I kind of described it as Resident Evil Vendetta, the video game, because the entire thing is just a really cheesy, fun action movie. There's probably every kind of vehicle chase section you can think of. There's helicopter turrets, there's a boat chase, there's a car chase, there's a bike chase, like anything you can think of, and it's honestly really fun. The story is also actually pretty good. I've said before how I really like when games, campaigns and things all sort of link into each other, and that's exactly what this one was like. Playing through all 4 campaigns, you can see exactly where they all interlink, which is really fun. My issues with this game though come from how it plays. It's shit. The controls themselves aren't terrible, although it does feel kind of quite clunky and unsatisfying to play. My issues are that I don't think anyone thought the mechanics through on this one. One thing I would like to point out is just how many buttons and interfaces you have to go through for one simple action. Let's use healing with an herb, for example. In any other Resident Evil game, you're gonna pick up the herb, it's gonna ask if you want to add it to your inventory, you're gonna go into your inventory and you're gonna use it. Fairly straightforward. Not for this one. You have to pick up the herb, put it in your inventory. Then you have to go into your inventory, but you can't use the herb from your inventory. You then have to go into your inventory, add it to your hotkey on your little HUD. Then you have to exit out of the inventory and use it from the hotkey in your HUD. Why can't we just use items from our inventory? God forbid you want to combine herbs. That's a whole extra 2 or 3 button presses. Also, interacting with items and doors, for example, if you want to pick up an item in the environment, it's, I believe, square or X. If you want to interact with the door, it's X. But then if you want to open a door with your co-op partner, it's circle. Why is interact 3 different buttons? Overall, the campaign I found to have the most problems, and the one that I hated the most was Chris's. His is extremely action orientated, and yet they don't give you a whole lot of resources. They force you into a lot of these combat sections where you physically can't run away, like you have to kill all the enemies in the room. And yet you'll go into the room and there's no ammo, there's no healing, like they don't give you any items, and yet they expect you to kill all the enemies in a room. The game also has this fun feature where when you get hit, instead of just like getting knocked back or stunned for a second, you fall completely to the ground and you have to wait like a good few seconds for your character to stand back up before you can do anything again. And something I found out, this game, yet again, has no sort of immunity frames or anything, so that entire motion of you falling over, standing back up, or opening a door, or jumping over a ledge, you can get hit during that. So stun locking is very, very real. There was even a moment where I was turning some sort of lever with the co-op partner to do something. I don't exactly remember what. I was turning this lever, and fair enough, you can get hit during that, fine. But we successfully turned the lever and a cutscene started to play of, you know, the next thing that happens. And I got shot by an enemy and died during the cutscene. That shouldn't happen. So yeah, this game's shit. Don't be upset if you skip it. I think if you're gonna play any of the 4 campaigns, Leon's was probably my favorite. Jake's and Ada's weren't terrible, but the one downside to all the campaigns linking into each other is you do play some of the same boss fights and some of the same sequences over and over, like 2 or 3 different times. So by the time you get to Jake and Ada, you've done all of the fights before. On a much more positive note though, we got to jump into 7, which I was equally excited and nervous for, and let me tell you, this one, I don't know whether it's coming off the back of 6 or whether it's the game itself, but this is great. Resident Evil 7 actually makes it into my top 5 Resident Evil games. This is an 8 out of 10. The first-person view is indeed absolutely terrifying. The story was pretty good. I already knew about the story and everything going in, but I imagine for someone who doesn't, seeing how it links into the rest of the universe near the end is pretty cool. And it's absolutely terrifying. I knew that I would struggle, especially with the bug parts in this game, but it is absolutely terrifying. And I think it speaks volumes that, for example, I knew where you walk down that hallway in the Baker house and Jack jumps out at you from the wall. I knew about that. I knew it was about to happen, and yet it still scared me when it did. I think that says a lot. So yes, this game is just as good as everyone says. I was also nervous going into it that it would be really difficult. A lot of the clips I'd seen of this game, everyone was really low on ammo and healing, but at no point did I ever actually fully run out. I always felt low and like I could run out, but I never did, and so I think the balancing of that was really well done. And last but not least, Resident Evil 8. This one, for whatever reason, I couldn't get into in the same way I did 7, so it is slightly lower at 7 out of 10, but I did still really enjoy it. I do still think it is really good. I could not exactly tell you a reason why I didn't enjoy it as much. Actually, I take that back. 7, I feel like, does hinge a lot on the horror and the scares, so even knowing the story going in, the game itself still felt new and like it was able to scare me and keep me interested. This one, I again went into it not blind. I knew all about the story and everything, but I feel like the difference is that this one hinges a lot more on the story and the lords and the plot twists in the story throughout. So being that I already knew them, I feel like that's why it didn't have as much of an impact, but gameplay-wise, it was still really fun. Same praises as 7, it felt really balanced at like any given point. Never was I actually like running out of things, which was really good, and I did spend a good amount of time running through the village, collecting all of the treasures, opening all the lockpicks that I could. Like, it really made me feel like I wanted to go around and explore and unlock everything that I could, which I think is a good thing. So there you have it. That brings us all the way to March, and Resident Evil 9 is now officially out. March is going to be a very big month for us, with Requiem leading straight into Fatal Frame 2 remake, so stick around if you would like to hear my thoughts on those.